Thank goodness this NHL preseason has come to an end because, wow, it has been wild. There are so many videos out there now and people just talking about how this preseason was one of the worst preseasons they've seen in a long time. And it really goes to show you that there's something that needs to change because in 2024-2025 season, we saw a lot of terrible things. So there are three main plays that I want to talk about, but there are many more that happened in this preseason that really demonstrate where we are as a hockey community and where the game is, and how maybe the preseason really just isn't beneficial anymore as it used to be back in the early 2000s. So let's talk about it. Leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and let me know down below, like, how many games should there really be in the preseason? Do you think it's really that beneficial anymore? All right, let's start. The NHL season is about to start, and just, looking at what happened in the preseason makes you kind of think, oh man, like, why are we even doing this anymore? So let's start with scenario one. Arber Xhekaj hits Stützle up high, and it's huge news. Everybody's talking about it, and everybody's freaking out, and they're expecting Arber Xhekaj to be suspended. And, well, we'll get to what happened with him off ice, but on ice, this is not a play that should be happening at all in the NHL, and in the preseason, for that matter, because it's a preseason. It means nothing. And even to a guy like Xhekaj, who is more than likely to rotate in and out of the roster for Montreal and has shown that he adds a competitive edge to the team and is not the worst defenseman out there, why are you doing this? You're really, first of all, pushing what is acceptable in the NHL, and you're pushing your chance to even make the roster, considering that there is so much talent on the Montreal Canadiens team and the defense-wise as well. You're really pushing your luck if you're going to make the roster or not, and he needs to sit down and really reevaluate where he is, because this preseason was not his preseason whatsoever. He had the fight with Cedric Paré, or it wasn't really a fight, it was more just a sort of a jumping, and that alone could have deemed more of a conversation as well. But then this hit from Stützle, or on Stützle, I should say, sorry, not from Stützle, I'm sorry if I pissed off any Ottawa fans, on Stützle is not a play that should be happening, and it needs to be rectified. And how do you rectify a play like this in the preseason? You suspend the guy for a good amount of time. Well, what happened off ice? Nothing happened. He did not get suspended. He got fined, but that wasn't even, it's not enough from the NHL. It needs to do better, especially in the preseason where nothing matters and you're hitting players like this. I don't care that it's Stützle or anything. If a play like this happens to any player of any type of standing, this just shouldn't be happening, and the league needs to address it by suspending the player for a prolonged amount of time, 4 games or whatever. It's an 82-game season. He gets suspended at the beginning of the season. That's good. Good start to the NHL season, for basically saying, hey, you can't be running around throwing hits like this. And a lot of you might be thinking, okay, well, how come a preseason should be more, the severity of the consequence should be more than in a regular season? I'm not saying that the preseason should be more severe, but I'm just saying there should be no lax of the preseason calls than in a regular season. You need to make them equal, because the game moves at the same pace regardless of preseason or regular season. Just because the standings don't matter doesn't mean that they shouldn't be punished to the same degree. That's what I'm trying to get at. So let's move on to the second scenario that just is really more of one scenario where it's really unfortunate. Patrik Laine, we'll talk about it. We talked about it on the channel, and it's just a really, really unlucky scenario. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. It's one of those plays that, Laine gets hurt, and it's a star player, and it's sad to see. It's a guy who's been battling through a lot, and a lot of people are saying, well, you shouldn't have star players out there against, AHLers. Cedric Paré is not going to be an NHLer, so why is he out there against Patrik Laine, who's an established first line, second line player? And I understand to that degree. So what is the solution to that if we're going to take that seriously? Well, maybe we don't do as many preseason games, so that a scenario where, Cedric Paré doesn't get, 3 games to play in the preseason, he gets like 1 chance to play. He doesn't play against Laine, and so be it. That that play never happens, and Laine is ready to play the season. That is a solution to reduce the amount of games played. But it still falls back on the team itself. You run a risk playing your star players in preseason games, so you have to decide where you want to put them. Do you want to put them towards the end of the preseason, where most teams will play their established rosters, so the likelihood of an injury happening may be less severe? Who knows? There's no perfect answer for this exact scenario, but you have to understand that it's not just, you can't just not play your star players in the preseasons. They do need to practice a little bit. As they get older, they don't play nearly as many. Laine is still young. Like a guy like Arber Xhekaj doesn't play 4 or 5 preseason games. He maybe plays 2, maybe even only 1. So some of these players are very well conditioned to just only have to play a few games, and they're an established player, so they have nothing to prove. But Laine is a guy who came into Montreal not a part of the system, and he was trying to learn how to play under Martin St. Louis, and he needed to play. And this play happened because of it. This is more of a freak play, and there's really no answer to it, is what I'm trying to get at. So I don't know the answer to this. So maybe in the comments down below, you can let me know what the answer to this particular scenario would be, and you can get back to me, and I'll read it down below. Let's talk about the last scenario here with Geeky and the Davies scenario where he came off the bench and tried to start an altercation immediately. Now, a lot of people were surprised that he even got suspended for one game for this exact scenario because there was really no injury on the play, as a lot of people were pointing out. But it's not about the injury or the potential injury. It is about the potential of an injury, and that's where the call was made. And it's a good call because, you know, this is a scenario that you don't want to happen. It could have been really, really tragic to see a player get injured when somebody comes straight off the bench and goes to fight someone immediately. Like, that stuff does not belong in hockey. It doesn't belong in any altercation in life. So this is a good play by the NHL to suspend him for a game. But how come he gets suspended but Arber Xhekaj doesn't get suspended for one game? So, like, there's the discrepancy. That shouldn't be happening. But let's go back to what we're talking about here, the preseason, and how these plays shouldn't be happening. Geeky shouldn't be doing these things. First of all, he's a guy who knows the NHL, and these plays shouldn't be happening. It's frustrating to have to talk about this before the game, before the season, I should say, has even begun. We're not even at the beginning of the season. Yes, the Devils and the Sabres have played 2 games, but the real NHL season, where we're waiting for the most anticipated season where there are so many records to be broken and so many players that are going to step up and become established first line or second liners. There's so many superstars coming up. The Bedard's second season. Listen, the list goes on. And the fact that we're spending time talking about a preseason is wild. And it really shows you where the NHL stands right now. And something needs to change because the format for the NHL and the preseason has been around for a long time, and it needs an update, and it needs to be talked about more. Unfortunately, a majority of the NHL and the people who run it are older, and they don't really maybe understand the difference in, first of all, athlete, because so many of these athletes are so talented these days, and they have so many regiments out there that keep them in shape throughout the summer that maybe the necessity for an extra, couple preseason games isn't necessary. These guys have so many great ways to keep themselves in shape, and it's just, we need to move on maybe. I don't know. Let me know down below what you think, and you can get back to me on that as well. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you're new. Thank you for all the support on the recent videos. I was on vacation, so I didn't have a chance to make a ton of videos this week, but we're back, and we're going to be making stuff every night. So enjoy the opening night of the NHL season, and I will see you guys in the next one.